Hey YouTube, today I'm doing a reaction video to a video by some leftist on climate change.
Extremely offensive stereotype made about the British that we love talking about the weather, which is completely wrong, okay? We don't love talking about the weather. It actually turns us on.
Could you tell us, and could you describe again the shape of your favourite cloud and what it is?
It's a mammatus cloud, so it's bulbous. You can't hold it in your hand, obviously, it's a cloud, but it's like that.
Okay.
Yes, we discovered a new type of cloud before everybody else and literally named it after tits. Never underestimate the British and their love for some clouds. What we're not so great at though is talking about climate change. Welcome back to the Mooncat channel. The world is on fire. So let's have a beer and talk about it. It is definitely not Tuesday afternoon. It is not Tuesday afternoon. So the 26th annual conference on what we all
Climate change is great for ratings. That's why there's a million news stories about it. Everybody loves to doom scroll.
might do about the extinction of the human race just happened. The 26th one, which is a bit like your average Tony Robbins or Gary Vee fanboy being like,
Yeah, bruv, I'm off to my 26 Life Success Secret Masterminds event.
these life lessons clearly aren't teaching you anything. All you ever come home with is a few new slogans and a ticket to the next event. You still work as a fridge boy at the local Currys. You come home and you
So let me lay out my position on climate change. We'll see what she says, whether my position can evolve at all in response to, maybe she's going to lay out some data, some information. We'll see. Is it just going to be hysteria and doomsday prophesying? My position is climate change is real. It's not a extinction level threat to the human race. I agree with the climate science that the Earth has warmed about 1.5 degrees centigrade since industrialization. I agree this is primarily due to CO2 emissions, or at least that seems to be the most likely culprit at the moment. Climate is a chaotic system. It's not solved. But I accept that there is a greenhouse effect, that increased levels of CO2 in the atmosphere sort of trap radiation between the clouds and the Earth. The reason why I don't believe this to be some sort of catastrophic threat to the human race is so from the data that I've gathered, the most likely result is warming between 1.5, 1, which is what we have now, and 3 degrees. So let's take the worst case result. Let's look at 3 degrees. I just don't see this having a catastrophic impact on the human race. There certainly are zones we don't want to go past, like ocean acidification, killing all marine life. That would probably be a bad thing, to put it mildly. So, I mean, I'm even on board with basically a lot of the climate proposals. I think that every first world country should get carbon neutral by, 2050, whatever. I think we're well on track to doing so. I don't think a 3 degree centigrade increase would be the end of the world. I think that there's a lot of benefits from climate change, increase in arable land, fewer deaths from cold. I don't accept this thesis that climate change makes everything worse somehow. There's no optimal level of climate. The climate on the Earth at the moment is pretty inhospitable. If it can make beneficial, or if it can make negative changes, like increasing the potency of hurricanes, then it can make positive changes as well. If there were natural disasters that have been averted because of climate change, we wouldn't see them, so you wouldn't know about it, but that could have happened as well. If you look at the NASA temperature data, a lot of the warming has been concentrated in the North Pole, which again, one of the coldest regions in the world. Not the end of the world if it gets a little hotter there. Likewise, areas like Canada and Russia can benefit from increased heat. We've already seen global greening as a response to increased CO2 emissions. That's one possible negative feedback loop, as predicted by the Dyson guy who theorized the Dyson sphere. He was a global warming skeptic, believed that global greening would counter out the effects. I'm not saying that's the case, just pointing out that was his theory. We also have potential mitigation effects like partially blocking out the sun, which seems a bit sci-fi, but apparently it might be theoretically possible, as sort of like an emergency measure. I think that this is a problem which is going to resolve itself naturally anyway, as we develop new technology that does not rely on CO2 emissions. And absolutely, we should be moving to nuclear. Should have never abandoned nuclear in the first place. Canada, my country, we do a lot of hydroelectric, which I think is a pretty idealistic solution in terms of emissions anyway. The other thing is, there's billions of people living on less than $5 a day, and if we're going to enable those people to increase their standard of living, to increase their productivity, it's going to be because of oil and gas, because of fossil fuels, at least until there's another alternative. So I'm not willing to sacrifice the prosperity of people in the third world at the altar of climate change, at the altar of opposition to oil. So it's a delicate balance. But again, I do think it's an issue. I just don't think it's the catastrophe. I don't think it's the threat to the human race that some people want it to be.
You try and fit ranks in between your mother coming into your bedroom and trying to tell you to stop getting fried chicken grease on the upholstery, and you think a picture of a half-decomposed monkey is going to buy you a Lamborghini. They're having you on, Jeremy. So, at the wildly successful COP26, Biden saw the shriveled-up dick of a Scotsman on the side of the road, then farted on Camilla before falling asleep, and our very own Bojo, looking like an albino Mr. Potato Head perched atop a pile of old pillows stuffed in a suit and drawn by a child, appeared.
Okay, this lady was funny initially, but now she's just annoying.
Gattenborough. And Obama somehow.
Are you gonna make a point ever?
Same time, it was a bit like an extremely extravagant state-funded field trip for a care home where they forgot all of the medication. And it's funny until you realise that all of these old peoples can make decisions about your future. It's a bit like being nailed to a chair in a furnace and your nan's outside it next to the off switch, but all she's doing is going buck wild on your Tinder account. Our possibly dead head of state gave a televised speech. Oh, she's wearing that green dress again. Editing Mooncat. Don't do it. What? I'm not gonna. Don't do it.
In the coming days, the world has the chance to join in the shared objective of creating a safer, stabler future for our people
and for the planet on which we depend.
Prince Charles was tripping over himself to give a speech. Prince Andrew gave a speech on his plans to cut his carbon footprint by only molesting locally and only eating meat feast pizzas when he needs an alibi and not taking any flights to the US for any reason. Ever. And then we had special appearances from the people in the world who work the hardest, much more hard than anybody else. The people who, one, work, the billionaires.
I was told that seeing the Earth from space changes the lens through which you view the world. But I was not prepared for just how much that would be true.
It's beautiful because he was viewing it through a bellend. In fact, climate change is basically like one huge worldwide game of soggy biscuits. All countries are jerking their CO2 onto this one biscuit, the Earth, and then the last countries to develop their emissions quickly enough have to eat the consequences.
I'm gonna come.
A social movement has been developing against the diabolically poor actions made by the governments following each and every pointless climate summit we've had since the 90s. One man travelled all the way to Glasgow in a huge hamster ball to show how humans can all, like, work together to stop climate change or something.
Some people here write, stop to put many animals into a cave.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Stop to put many animals into a cave.
Stop putting many animals in a cave. Well, to be honest, if things on Earth go to shit, I have considered living out my life as an anarcho-primitive cat hoarder. And I guess I would have to keep a cap on how many cats I could fit into my cave. Bullshit.
How dare you?
Now, look, I love quirky, cringy, artistic people. I sing songs about capitalism on the internet, for fuck's sake. I'm one of you. And I love that they care about something so important. But for this kind of thing, for getting across to the general public, it's just not enticing.
Getting what across? Make an argument already.
Minimum wage worker isn't going to want to give up their day off to join your vegetable hokey cokey. This is the kind of thing that they probably hallucinate after a 12-hour night shift on the fresh produce aisle in Tesco. This only serves to alienate people from a movement which desperately needs more people to be a part of it. And the media is not.
There's a real lack of intellectual rigor in this video.
Group of climate activists in the UK. In September this year, they staged a fully naked demonstration in various branches of HSBC. The whole naked stand-in being a total of 4 minutes long.
And the thing is that all these climate activisms and events like that, they do nothing. They're not going to affect change. I mean, you might draw some attention to the situation or whatever, but you're not making an argument. You're not. It's ultimately ideas that shape the course of history. You're not expressing an idea here. I mean, you're expressing an idea. You're not making an argument. You're not advancing the case for this. It's intellectually vacuous.
To the next branch. And this one guy doesn't even take off his boxer shorts. I mean, I never thought I'd say this about a dude with male pattern baldness and a ponytail and socks and sandals on, but come on, give us some sugar.
A lot of disruption has been caused here by these brave activists.
I mean, it looks to me like the people there are quite happy to reschedule their mortgage payments with nipples in their peripheral vision. They also once hired a fire engine and filled it with blood in the hopes of painting the treasury red to depict the price we're paying in blood or something. I don't know. All I ever heard about in the news was how hilariously wrong it went when they lost control of the bloodstream, so it leaked out all over the place. Story of my life. Other protests included gluing themselves to the roofs of underground trains, trying to hold up rush hour, blocking Oxford Circus in the centre of London by gluing themselves to the road, and generally holding up traffic.
And for those of you secretly wondering, yes, they do wear nappies.
Extinction Rebellion's aims are to get arrested. They want to clog up the legal system. They want to waste police time. They want to annoy the general public because they think that's what will make the government listen. They once blocked London Bridge with a bus, and it just looks like a hen party that got out of hand.
Tracy, I think you ordered too many strippers.
And what the fuck is going on here? Like, this isn't Burning Man. You're on a roundabout in a London suburb in the pissing rain. Just give him a Pepsi. Forever concerned to not appear patronising to the general public, Extinction Rebellion's Mr. Broccoli is a man who promotes a vegan lifestyle, along with all his vegetable friends. He goes on TV to get shouted at by Piers Morgan.
Peas, a plant-based food.
Are you calling Piers peas?
Well, yeah.
And doesn't even rebut him when he starts just outright lying about plant-based diets.
Increasing evidence that a strict vegan diet, for example, can have bad impact on you.
That's not a lie. Vegan diet's completely unhealthy. That's why the vast majority of people who attempt it abandon it. The real optimal diet for human health is a carnivorous one with a focus on rare ruminant meat, like steaks, rare steaks.
You know, I think
children may end up being more stupid.
Yeah.
But what are you doing there?
Sorry, I've just got a call. That's the wrong way up. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just ruptured my spleen watching that. An offshoot of Extinction Rebellion formed recently called Insulate Britain.
Oh no, an advertisement. Skip.
A lot of old, energy inefficient housing, and Insulate Britain wants the government to roll out loft insulation so people don't have to live in fuel.
Okay, that's at least a policy. Even a somewhat sensible one. On the other hand, I don't see why people can't just insulate their own damn houses. And don't they do that already?
Poverty, which is a level of poverty so dire you have to choose between heating.
Yeah, fuel poverty, because left-wing activists get the government to subsidize less efficient forms of energy production, and consumers end up paying the bill.
Or eating. Around 10,000 old people die per year because of this problem.
Yeah. The cold kills about 10 times as many people as the heat every year. That's why global warming has some substantial benefits as well.
In one of the most developed countries in the world. They want to force the government into action, so they do this by pissing off the general public, gluing themselves to roads and causing major tailbacks. But they don't yet have the numbers for the government to really give much of a shit, so all they're really doing right now is pissing off the general public, who retaliate by blowing bagpipes at them or squirting ink in their eyes.
People are so close to being run over, it is incredible.
You are messing with children's education.
I've got kids to feed and mortgage to pay.
Being visibly pulled off right now.
You understand now? Don't move. Do you understand? More pollution.
Yeah, these eco-protesters are so stupid.
Turning the issue into a culture war at the worst time. The first journalists on the scene are always our friends, GB News, or the Murdoch-owned Talk Radio TV. Brendan O'Neill, in particular, loves going off on rants and then somehow manages to segue into his wishes to abuse his children, like the good old days.
And of course, the other great phrase that they love to use, in addition with the house is on fire, is that the science is irrefutable. Well, actually, the science is not irrefutable, because if you actually analyse the science is all very well up to a point, Lord Copper, but actually the predictions have always been proved to be completely and utterly wrong, completely and utterly spurious.
That's the thing, is that, you know, the science, when it comes to analyzing what's happened so far, okay, but in terms of predictions about what's going to happen to the global economy, predictions about what's going to happen to the climate's a chaotic system. You can't predict the future, and any guess as to the impact of these policies is going to be highly speculative.
And completely and utterly untrue.
10 seconds later.
That would be wrong, wouldn't it, to hit your children? That's not allowed anymore. No, absolutely not.
Their ultra-right Tory viewership are so fucking talked up for hating these people. And the cherry on top is that he looks like Humpty Dumpty after being dragged through divorce court by Mrs. Dumpty and left with nothing but the memories of slapping his own children into oblivion.
Do they want to risk prison? They seem to be quite intelligent. This is obviously carefully prepared, but the government needs to be one step ahead.
They'll waste their time taking interview requests on these shows because they think that this will somehow help their cause, but they're not media trained in the slightest, so they're just doing the opposite.
Because all that you're doing here is trying to build a new socialist economy. You're trying to take away the system that has generated...
That's actually another good point, is that most of these people are just socialists who are masquerading as environmentalists. They don't care about global warming or environmentalism. They care about socialism. And this is their way of saying, see, capitalism has failed. Capitalism is killing us. We need socialism. When the reality is socialism is a terrible economic system. It does not work, and it extinguishes human freedom.
...generated wealth and happiness for the kind of families that you are now driving up the bills of and causing havoc for in their lives. This isn't about insulation at all, is it?
Oh, not at all. I'm a mum. I didn't go to uni. I don't really understand these bigger concepts like socialism and capitalism.
Hey, Tom, I know you're desperate to get your little Tory debate lord talking points out here because you want to be the British Ben Shapiro, but I don't think Tracy here is planning to collapse the entire political system of a country and topple
It's always the ones you least suspect.
the powers that be to build a new socialist utopia like some kind of new age Che Guevara. She's an unemployed mum on benefits. She doesn't know what you're talking about. And Tracy, I don't blame you for not understanding the concept of capitalism, but please, if you don't know how to answer these questions, perhaps don't be the spokesperson for your group. There are politically educated people in your group, I know there are, so let them speak. Not Liam. Please, not Liam. Liam Norton is a literal charisma black hole.
Disobeying the dock is a direct response to the criminal complicity of the British legal system, and for that reason I'm choosing to disobey in the dock tomorrow. And lots of love.
He comes across as a
Okay, this chick's pretty funny.
in every interview he does, defaulting to overly catastrophic, alienating, the world is ending rhetoric to try and explain his actions.
Gluing yourself to the M25, not the best day out for you guys, was it?
No, I agree with you. It certainly wasn't the best day out.
And never explains why he hasn't insulated his own home, which I think is because he lives in social housing, but he won't say this.
But why haven't you got your home insulated yet?
Because I'm a hypocrite.
And this led to a viral moment a couple of months ago when, during a confrontation with Richard fucking Madeley on this subject, he storms off the set.
Whether my home is insulated or not doesn't change the fact that millions of people's homes aren't insulated.
Hang on a
and they're
moment,
not going to be.
sorry.
Yeah, bye.
And I understand why these people are so passionate. They're emotionally invested in the cause, as they should be, but they don't know how to speak to people who are not.
What bit of that sentence don't you understand? It means that they're going to fry to death.
But it does end up sometimes with golden moments like this.
How is it sustainable if you're killing trees?
Because it's regenerative, you can grow trees.
Right. Well, you can grow all sorts of things, can't you?
Well, you can't grow concrete.
You can. See you, Cameron. Cheerio. That was Cameron.
And none of this is helped by literal climate change denial being represented on TV as if it's still a valid part of the conversation. Here we have Piers Morgan talking to a climate activist for the first half of a segment, and then for the other half, someone named Naomi Sight. Naomi is a 20-year-old woman with no scientific background who reckons all of these silly scientists, 99% of peer-reviewed scientists, haven't done their research.
I came to the conclusion that, in fact,
most of the claims made by the IPCC are not really based on scientific research at all.
They just drew the graph like it was a game of pin the tail on the fucking donkey. Now, we're going to play a little game. Who do you think is behind the anti-Greta Thunberg Naomi site? Is it a people-led grassroots movement fed by genuine concern for the scientific consensus behind climate change being inherently flawed? Or is it a think tank funded by the Koch brothers?
Place your bets now! Come on, quick, bet! Betting ends!
Naomi is backed by the Heartland Institute, which is based in Illinois and specialises in keeping Daddy Billionaire happy and continuing to sit on his piles of money. Back in the 90s, they spearheaded a campaign in collaboration with tobacco company Philip Morris to try and convince the world that smoke...
You know, throughout this entire video so far, she hasn't really presented any data, evidence, made any argument, really.